So thanks everyone for coming out to support the Montague Reporter with some poetry. I'm Lise McLaughlin, and I'll just be doing the minimal hosting duties, which are basically to call everybody in the order that they signed up. And the first person who's here who signed up is Margaret Saraka. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. So I'm going to be reading most of my poems this morning from If There Is No Wind, my new book, my debut poetry book, and then one from Windblown 2, which I love that book. The first one is called Damariscotta, Maine. The lake mirrors a streak of full moonlight, blazing a path like an airport runway framed by the blackish blue night sky. A small cemetery casts an eerie stillness set between a tiny, unassuming clapboard house and the water barely visible from the dirt road. The gray, tilted, and faded stones, partially covered by brown grass and enclosed by a battered picket fence, form a backdrop to the lake. The moon and the maple trees brush the spiritual space between death, shadow, and the power of life and light by the tiny house, the small cemetery, and the few souls for tonight that includes me that live and rest on these shores known as the River of Little Fish. Thanks. So the next one is called 3 Days After Squirrel Hill. And that was the attack on the synagogue in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh, I believe. Be happy, be bright, be you is printed on a golden flowery poster taped to the window in a synagogue nursery schoolroom where we write. There are a few brightly colored plastic building toys, cars, and trucks placed on a small white bookshelf. A cubby large enough to fit one pair of children's shoes, a coat, a lunchbox, and maybe a stuffed animal brought from home is empty now. Their posted daily schedule includes morning work, free play, circle time, snack out of doors, activity centers, lunch, and group time. The muted bluish gray rug is worn, most likely from toddlers who sit attentively or roll on the floor and listen to stories or nap after lunch. The atmosphere is peaceful. Do these children still bring pillows and small blankets from home? We used to send our children with soft fleece so they could spool themselves up like swaddled, sleeping infants. It feels safe here. The children have gone for the day, and a group of writers have taken their place around long folding tables seated on metal chairs. We create where children play and nap and dream. It is almost as if they have left us their cocoon for the evening. We crawl in for a moment. Here is where we shelter and barricade ourselves from the world, banishing evil from the door. Thank you. There's a lot. I know that I was looking up the newspaper, so I'm not from there. I'm from New Jersey. And I know there's a very, very much a political place for this paper and a natural place. So this is another political poem that I hold to my heart. It's called Courage. How does it feel to be a lone wolf walking through a green forest on a dark silhouetted night? Wolf, do you hear your own footsteps sound? Or do you bristle at slight tremors made from other creatures who watch, waiting for you to falter, fall, lay down, and die? Will you keep to your path? Constantly looking for courage. A couple more. This is actually, I end the book with a couple of meditations because meditative poems. This one's called Quiet Moment. The road reflects the moon in a shimmering puddle after rainfall on a clear night. I wait for a message to tell me what this means. I am still waiting. The last one I'm going to read is from Windblown 2, and it's the Baltimore Green Space Springfield Woods. It was my adopted land, and I have others now, but this is still in my heart. And it's called Springfield Woods. I'm sorry, it's called In Early Spring. My fingers stretch to touch the honey locust spiky thorns protruding from the trunk of this captivating and dangerous tree. She sounds like a cozy companion, but take care before you nestle against her. Bioengineered relatives grow harmless along city streets, but these ancient life forms tell a different story. Do they send out barbs for protection because they fear the return of the primordial mastodons who dined on their bark, not realizing they are long gone? Meanwhile, deer, squirrels, rabbits, and other gentle companions of the forest, innocent of yesteryears, feast on shaken honey pods, stepping over sharpened perils for sweet rewards. There is another honey locust, keeping watch over Gettysburg National Cemetery, that provided a backdrop to President Lincoln, where he delivered his famous address. The witness tree, alive 180 years, well beyond its 150-year cycle, is the sole survivor now of a long ago war. Here in Springfield Woods, I wonder what these honey locusts have seen as they stretch, angling towards the sun in Wilson Park. Were they here before this 100-year-old forest was named Springfield Woods? Their tree histories are deep as their roots, weathering windstorms, drinking from streams, grandly displaying leaves, flowers, and fruit in a fundamental pageantry of nature, watching, waiting, growing, aging. I touch the branched thorns again. I cannot help myself. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lise. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much. Thanks for reading from the Windblown as well. Do you want to show everybody your book again? What's it called now?
It's called If There Is No Wind, and I can put my social media stuff. I love to connect with people on social media, so please do.
Yeah. Go ahead and put it right in the chat too.
I will.
think, yeah, that's on my pile of reading for this spring. I've got one. I just haven't read it yet. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks. Our next reader, let me make sure I've got, Dina Stander. Hi.
Listening. Hi, everybody. I'll just dive in. This is called Poetry Festival on Zoom. Voices carry across the distance, each heart a drumbeat from the other side of the screen, shifting rhythm into sync, weaving a vessel of ceremony. Each poet reading into the silence our word, music, and offering to an audience muted in sacred listening, together holding the light, pushing against the terrible dark, signaling the universe with our wild joy in being, our exquisite ache. We are invincible. We are vulnerable. We are here. This one is called, since there was an invitation to bring political work, and really, really happy to be part of this benefit for the Montague Reporter. And when my mom, who's now almost 93, just at the end of 2019, moved up to Turner's Falls, the first thing I did was buy her a subscription as a gift, and she's been very happy. So here's to local journalism. Dear Antifa, I abhor violence, but do not refute its occasional dire necessity. I am an atheist chaplain, a minister of no faith, a poet offering only presence. Dear Antifa, every time I see photos of your black hoodies on the front line, I weep. You each seem so fragile. Where others see fierce, I see necessity. I watch from my sidelines as you fling your bodies, just as soft as my body, into the maw, intentionally getting in the way so that others can get away. Fierce, I see heart. Dear Antifa, I abhor violence, but you carry my heart into battle. May it shield you from the worst that can happen, even as you shield our brethren as we watch, as we march. Dear Antifa, stand your ground. And if you need an atheist chaplain, call me. I won't pray. This next one is called Folded into the Bowl. I've been writing a lot from the memory palace lately, and this is one of those. Folded into the bowl. Today, I take that first sip of coffee and I'm whisked off to another morning in another town in a booth at the cafe with 2 over easy rye toast bacon and hash browns delivered by a waitress whose humor and kindness have already healed what was aching in me as I indulge in unlimited refills, pursuing the morning San Francisco Chronicle folded neatly to the side of my plate with the best of both coasts front page section of the New York Times standing by hot sauce and that little pitcher of cream with the sun slanting in through the window while drummers jam on the corner. And I've got a walk on the beach ahead of me and a full pack of smokes, LSD, and even a good tip for the waitress, all so tidy. And the time stream whipped into a froth. And I wonder to myself, is this what my brain does now? Are all the walls in my memory palace growing thin so that a thread tugged by the scent of morning coffee can snag a little moment of a perfect first sip when I was 17 and whisk it into now in such a way that I feel combined with myself in the bowl of my time, and it is all simultaneously in motion and still. Whoosh. This next one is called Name Dropping, True Stories and Old Bones. So here I am working still on mending the world, the Jewish kid who doesn't believe in God, who marched for peace, who marched for equality, and marched for peace again and again and again, who sang at the Krishna temple, ate at the gospel mission, drank with tantric priests, wandered in the desert, organized to end world hunger, sat up all night in the sweat lodge, traveled by thumb, practiced free love, shared a bemused twinkle of consciousness with Timothy Leary and Wavy Gravy, felt grace in the presence of Haridas and Ram Das and Maharaji, got the joke and gave everything away, owned no shoes, prayed in Jerusalem at the Holy Sepulchre and at the Wailing Wall, bowed to the Dalai Lama, watched orcas and eagles hunt, saw the ceiling in the mosque at Kabak as Sakra, swam in 2 oceans and 3 seas, danced in the Baha'i Garden of Eden, climbed foolishly to the mountaintop, was too alone, too often, for too long, picked wildflowers in Shakespeare's meadow on the Thames, lost a wheel in Gainesville, worked for nuclear disarmament and the rights of the indigent, mentally ill, got invited to party with the Ray Charles Orchestra and declined, and accepted a glass of wine from Joan Baez, was referred to once as Sugarfoot, shared a joke with Howard Zinn, supped soup and sang songs with Wobblies, nursed my baby in Pete Seeger's rocking chair, and eventually found a place to belong and call home. Still bending towards mending in this incarnation, only the ordinary matters. The excitement is just how I get by. I've got one more if I've got time, Lise. Yeah, short. Fox in the Night. I wrote this on what would have been my dad's 90th birthday last July. Fox in the night. Just as my worries gave way to sleep, a fox began screaming. Dog sat up alert, a sniff and huff, a deeper sniff, ears up, no bark, both of us waiting, unsettled. I lay still in bed, listening, glad for walls when the wild pierces the dark. In the yard then, farther, closer, farther, again, 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 fading finally into distance. Anguish called into the night in language I could not decipher. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Tina. Those were great. Oh, you didn't tell people your book. Do you have it?
Oh,
You want to
my
hold it
book.
up?
I don't have one to show you a cover of, but I have 2 books. One is called Old Bones and True Stories, and that's poetry. And the other is a book of essays called Housewife Blues, Dispatches from the Garden of Broken Things. Thanks, Lise, for that invitation.
Okay, awesome. Our next reader is Hiram LaRue.
Thank you, Liz. I want to thank Liz, like all of us, I think we want to thank Liz for organizing this event today and in benefit to the Montague Reporter. I don't know the newspaper except what I've read about it online, but it sounds like a noble effort, and I'm sure that everyone will be grateful there at the Montague Reporter team for the work that we're doing here today to raise support for the newspaper. I also want to acknowledge that we've been joined by Rena Fleming from Ireland, Sylvia Lady Di Beverly from Maryland, or as we say down here where I am in Maryland, Merlin, and Patrice Smith from Maryland as well. So it's wonderful to see so many good and warm faces in the group. I'm going to read 3 pieces. The first piece is all about what happens when you get a little bit frustrated and the resilience that maybe is needed upon frustration, experiencing some frustration. It's titled Arms Widely, and it's in my just released collection called Patchy Ways. Arms widely. If you get angry, walk backwards. If you're terribly lonely, sing off key. When too tired to begin, wear bright socks. You'll love it. And if you're worried or anxious, just remember last summer's trees. If you're feeling poorly, read history. And over all of that, if or as you're giving up, let some kids come in. The next piece I'd like to present, I'm going to share screen the poem, and my apologies to those of you who have seen this poem before. Let's see if I can enlarge it a little bit. There we go. This poem was in my previous collection, Mud a Jar, titled Magic, and it appeared in a journal called Orbis. Magic. I'm going to present this twice, and I'll explain to you what I mean by that when I get to the end of the poem. Magic. The stars in your chest, the sounds of their glow, their flash blink wings, their touch top skies. These leaps towards light, these grateful, urging, holy stars in your chest and now in your throat. Their voices of beams, even into your heart and beyond. Their blaze, each star that starts in your chest and spins out from there, spins you as nothing else can, as magic comes true, with your chances so inside and out, with each and every star so over the moon. So I'd like to present that very same poem, but in a little bit different format. I was fortunate enough a while back to collaborate with a poet who is deaf and interprets, translates poems into American Sign Language. His name is Eric Epstein, and I was fortunate enough to have him conduct his magic on this poem titled Magic. It's a silent video, so there's nothing wrong with your audio. It's silent. It is captioned. So here's Eric Epstein, sign language interpreting or translating Magic, the poem I just read. So that was Eric Epstein translating magic in, I think, a magical way. I'm so appreciative to him for that work.
Thanks so much for sharing that beautiful video. And I think there was a request to put it in the chat if you have the link. That would be great. Thank you. So our next reader is Karina Lutz.
Thank you, and thank you, Lisa, for organizing this. This is beautiful. Every word so far, just. Poof. So I used to be a reporter back in the day, but I've always been a poet. And lately, I've been experimenting with hybrids of reporting and poetry in one piece of writing. And here's two of those. One is called Missing in Action, and this was first published in Miracle Monocle. It's called Missing in Action. In 2000, a handful of Duoc Longoor monkeys who survived the defoliation of their habitat in Vietnam were sitting out the rest of their lives in the San Diego Zoo. Their enclosure display a hospice for dying species, so said the zoo's interpretive signage, in other words. Glass separated the humans and the monkeys. Humans separated the monkeys from their land and their trees from their leaves. Sorry, monkeys, you are simply collateral damage. And trees, we don't even talk to you. But you monkeys in the zoo, you don't blink. To the losers came these spoils. They look so human, so sad, so conscious. They look us in the eye. Their enclosure has no trees to speak of, certainly not the kind of lush tropical evergreens that they would live in if the US Air Force had not sprayed their habitat with Agent Orange during the Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, American War. The capitalo communo global economy made goods of your home, sold your kin. But you monkeys in the zoo, you don't blink. You seem to see all that goes on. At the zoo, visitors won't get to see much if the Duoc Longoors wouldn't get to see much if the Duoc Longoors got to live in trees. Forests are good places for monkeys to hide, not just gorillas. Colonists had begun the devastation. Superpower amped it with chemical weapons against the plants to reveal the people. But you monkeys, you don't blink. You seem to have seen all that went on. We feel pitied. The Duoc Longoors hid so well, turns out hundreds have recently been discovered deep in some of the remaining jungles of Southeast Asia. So the species is no longer in hospice. Endangered species restoration efforts now focus on stopping poaching and logging. So says the Duoc Longoor Foundation website, which is in English. The US Fish and Wildlife Service, it says, trains local rangers to protect the animals. They wear camouflage uniforms like US soldiers or during the war. The US advisors are not in the foundation's picture. The trained rangers look battle tough, knowing, angry, and wary of the camera. Yet they look it right in the eye. May you be free of fear and safe from harm. May you be free of fear and safe from harm. May all primates be free of fear and safe from harm. May all with eyes, open eyes, to see what goes on. When Buddha sent his monks into the forest to establish a retreat, the story goes, they countered hostility from the monkeys and spirits that lived there already. The monks returned to the Buddha, who then taught them this loving kindness prayer, which they brought back to the forest beings. It disarmed everyone. Humans' fear and monkeys' anger melted, then evaporated. The ghosts and monkeys welcomed the monks as friends instead of invaders. Through their eyes, I remember receiving a sorrow greater and more pure than the world. I remember the langurs' faces as wiser than any humans. Were the monks hosts the ancestors of these monkeys in the zoo? And where do the ghosts live now? So this is another in that style, basically left justified in Roman and right justified in poetry stanzas on the in italic on the right justification. The annotated fable of the progeny of Bitcoin and art. Of alternative currencies, crypto is the best known. Systems with no gold or paper or matter of any sort to concretize or even symbolize them, each has a floating exchange rate with paper monies. They are relatively unregulated and decentralized. The software to encrypt blockchain requires extraordinary amounts of electronic calculation. To mint each imaginary coin importunes this world's very concrete data centers and fossilized energy production. Is crypto simply a plaything for casino capitalists who can afford to lose as much as they might gain? Or an experiment to move beyond money issued as debt? Was it designed for black markets, organized crime, and money launderers? Or is it the future of money? So get in now or be left behind. Bitcoin begat two children, Lifecoin and Frivolity Coin. On the other extreme, the Greens of Ithaca, New York, Great Barrington, Massachusetts, and other towns have developed alternative paper currencies. These hyperlocal currencies resist the grasp of globalization and encourage money flows to stay within, tending to reduce poverty and support small business and local supply chains, reducing the transportation of goods and thereby climate pollution. Lifecoin was immediately whisked to neonatal care at the University Hospital, where those who had been studying predictive ecology, environmental externalities, and sacred economics could observe and marvel and hope their good intention would do no harm. For Lifecoin were to be measured in quantity. Time banks or time exchanges are another effort at building a sustainable economic system. Time banking takes bartering up a few notches by allowing a member of a group to give services to another member, who gives yet another to another in the group, using an hourly based point system to make sure the barters balance out. Lifecoin could only be measured in debt, only paid to future generations by way of restoring habitat. Everyone agreed to take equal shares of Lifecoin too, as long as the wealthy would be allowed to exchange their collapsing dollars for frivolities. The Dalai Lama had his watch face replaced with an icon of Lifecoin. The Trump family papered their walls with frivolities, and no one cared. In a time bank, if I cut hair and you cut lawns, and my lawn is shaggy but you are bald, we can still barter, but through the group. You might cut my lawn, and I would cut someone else's hair, and the former long hair might fix your bike, or you would select a service from anyone who offered a service on the time bank network. Time banks assume
I'm sorry, but you're a
I'm
minute,
already over.
a full minute over. I
Yeah.
look forward to hearing the rest during our little overflow if we have it.
Okay, I've measured myself, and so if I read fast, I can do it, and if I don't, but then when I read fast, I stumble. So and then I slow down. It's
It's an art,
I'm sorry.
and I'm sorry to have to interrupt you. I just want to be sure everybody who has a chance can read, who wants to read. We're gonna sneak in a poet a little bit out of order because she needs to leave early. Sylvia Beverly is our next reader, if she's here.
I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. I appreciate being here. And I'm reading a poem that will be in my next book. entitled Righteous Love Does Not Come Easy. Essence of life fills my heart with love, a special kind of love. Hearts on fire, mutual desire kind of love. Oh, how love connects us to each other's souls. Spirits unite, lovingly, unconditionally, keeps us miraculously whole. Sweetest words we love to hear in our ears, ardently dear to our hearts. Sharing, caring, never to part. At first start, love is winning. True as blue moon in starlit skies, twinkling bright as my eyes in darkness, shining like diamonds, pleasantly dancing across room, keeping social distance. Oh, how my darling love, show no gloom. Righteous love does not come easy, especially during these challenging times of COVID. And let's see, thank you. My next one. Soon enough. Soon enough. Always and forever, I will perpetually be there for you, even when you do not want me to. My sweet, beautiful young flower, endlessly I treasure you. Phenomenal, polished power keeps us close to one another, wrapped in blankets of luxurious cashmere. You, my dear, are extremely important in my life. We are strongly connected. Nevertheless, I will be there for you, even if you become someone's wife. Seriously, my sensational sweets, I need to keep you safely near. For now, you must stay by my side. Forever hold on to your dignity and pride. As you grow, somehow, I will try my best. Release you, my dear, soon enough to find your desirous niche. Gracefully, you will dance into cruel, cold world. And my last one, let's see, my last one. Jeweled Reflections. I wrote this recently, actually on my birthday, March the 13th. Jeweled Reflections. To be a jewel, sparkling diamond, shining light over earth, over life. Genuine precious stone, radiantly shines brilliant star bright. Reflections of goodness over all beautiful ladies admire, over all gorgeous ladies adore. Steadfast endurance brings complete comfort, consistent care, mighty strength through heartfelt struggles. To be a jewel, lavished aquamarine, a subtle green, peaceful, serene waters flow upstream. To be a jewel, iridescent, kaleidoscopic, opal, luxurious, rainbow, reflecting brand new beginnings. Purple passion, amethyst, adorn royalty like poetry is to me. Everlasting glee, blowing free as high winds. Fiery, hot, flaming jewel, ruby red or garnet, my soul on fire. Sweet smelling rose, velvety touch, dear to my heart. Nature's peridot, laid back, good Samaritan, getting job done, someone you can perpetually depend. Attractive, sparkling bling, sang sweetly, sashaying sensational brilliance before big, bright, beautiful eyes. I thank you so much, and I Hope you can see my book. It's Forever in Your Eyes, dedicated to my hero, Dr. Maya Angelou, and my cookbook, Cooking Up South, Southern Recipes Learned in the Nation's Capital, Poetry and Recipes. Thank you.
Thank you. What a great combination, poetry and recipes. Our next reader is Rescue Poetics.
Hello, beautiful ones. Thank you. It is an honor and such a pleasure to be here today. They call me a dreamer. Let them see what my dreams bring. A blueprint of the future not stamped by society's approval. A rule-breaking, earth-shaking, far-reaching arrangement that will be built and rebuilt until my last breath. I'll be that dreamer. Split between realities of nighttime freedom and daylight structure. Conjuring, manifesting, creating in my sleep those dreams with the life of accomplishment at their foundation, see themselves into tangible representations, bridges designed to keep building. From them comes the strength to maintain what needs to be done, to see fruition of plans and work ready to be completed in its own good time. It doesn't end. It can't end. From the dream to the reality, from the dream to the reality, from the dream, each plan laid in the thread of memories, triggered by premonitions of things to come. Each waking moment, an opportunity to create what comes in the form of visions of a memory, from where the undeniable takes root to turn what I believe, what we believe, into the physical. They call us dreamers. Let them see what our dreams bring. There are those who would speak of their dreams as an unrealistic anomaly. Speaking of them doesn't give them the same life that doing them breathes from them. Dreams need life to be moved from the air of one day to the hands of those who will mold them into seeds for growth, plant them in the eyes of dreamers who do instead of think, to those and of those and for those to whom the rules of impossible don't apply. They call us dream. Thank you. I just put on my revolutionary jacket. It was hanging in the closet. I just put it on. It hangs no more. I just put on my revolutionary jacket, all torn and worn, dusted off the trauma of lives lost for the ideals of freedom, a basic human right. I just put on my revolutionary jacket, pulled from under the basket covered by memories of lives, other jackets. I just put on my revolutionary jacket. I just pulled it from underneath the capitalism and the lies that I've collected. Hide the revolution of self. I look in the mirror, no longer recognizing the revolution that once burned in my eyes. Patches of past protests stitched down the front, heavy from grief, slumping my shoulders down. Where did that fight go? Superpowers dulled by the daily dichotomy of what feeds the power of transformation. Where did that light go? Stripped by media's constant, unrelenting onslaught, rebellion squashed, honoring those who didn't make it instead of celebrating the living, the fighters, the new jackets. Where did the belief go? Staring into the mask of fear, oppression, scratching and scratching away unity, accepting false legends from false prophets as they collect our jackets, claim them as their own. Who are we without those stories kept safe and tucked in the pockets of our jackets? What revolution do we seek when the clothes used to define us wrap around and tie behind us? I just put on my revolutionary jacket. It was hanging in the closet. I just put it on. It hangs no more. I just put on my revolutionary jacket. Ready to rage war. It's been too long in the dark, covered in plastic to suppress its magic. I just put on my revolutionary jacket, form fit to my ribs, frayed sleeve just right. Threads hugging my backbone, giving me strength. I just put on my revolutionary jacket, ready for the front lines, buttons in line and in time, recollections of ideals in their very shine. I just put on my revolutionary jacket. It hangs no more. When are you putting yours on? Thank you. And that does it for me today.
Thanks so much. I want one of those. Um, our next reader is JC Wayne.
Hello, everyone. In the interest of time, I just put my web address in my name if you want to know more about me. This is a true story from March 2020, and just because we're rushed on time or have less time, I do have a book as well, Voicing Art, Poetry of Space, Place, and Time. It is mostly ekphrastic art. This is micro macro. The extraordinary and the mundane conflate in micro and macro ways, and the taffy of days stretches into strange shapes. In Vermont, we are reasonable and responsible people who cooperate until we don't, through the luxury of geographical open space, to be contrarian to the hold of both the seen and the unseen. In a spring that simply refuses to come, except for a day of sun here and there, that feels miraculous and ominous, the earthy, pallid Vermonters throw caution to the still icy ether, and the young skateboarders glom together in lockstep with the hordes of ticks that pour forth from the Trojan horse of the continual winter. Now, with the orange distancing signs all along the lakefront path, we have yellow tick signs adding another layer of lethality in the land of Lyme disease. Does anyone even care about what mode we die by anymore? A burrowing tick or a burrowing virus, failing nervous system or failing respiratory system or failing food supply. It's all the same by us, and we choose to go in the faintly warming rays of the sun. So we're sitting in our car by the skate park on Lake Champlain, where the water is ablaze with the diamonds of a tiny patch of sun, while the wind whips winter off the peaks of the Adirondacks. After we've experienced the tiny miracle of the rare first spring shincha that somehow got here from Japan via Middlebury, and the impossibly delicate and otherworldly green causes hesitation of speculation. Contaminated hands, soil, packaging, mail, to be trampled by the stampede of gossamer tea whispering across a galaxy of distance. And we're reading an article by a voice of reason and science we discovered what feels like 1,000 incarnations ago, only last month, while grabbing a few stingy rays at another lake pocket further down the shore that is sorting through the confusion and puncturing the fallacies one by one with the precision of pinprick. And I look up and Bernie is passing right outside my windshield, not 2 feet away. Ruddy and hale and smiling, which looks both as foreign and as welcome as the recalcitrant sun. He has no retinue, no security, no heirs, just a single walking companion, typical crusty Vermonter in his 70s or 80s, clearly an old friend who's probably a millionaire but looks homeless. I'm reading aloud in my car before getting ready to cycle into the screaming wind and the illusion of feeling alive about what the ravaging coronavirus does to the heart when Bernie passes by, a walking miracle of confluence. People start to notice a few beats after I do. It's the shirtless skate dudes and the young guy on a bike and the dog walking couple of college kids, and everyone is delighted, including Bernie, who looks impish and 5 years old, eyes getting sparklier the more he goes unnoticed and seen. And for a moment, the world seems to stop spinning on its tilt-a-whirl axis in the imprisoning web of virus and ticks and never-ending winter. And there is a micron of silence. And then the cheering becomes louder than that Adirondack wind, and the cheers and whistles and "we love you, Bernies" roll across the lake with the white cap chop and echoing clap of voicing thunder, and we are human. A crotchety old contrarian coot as Vermont as they come, looking lean and eternal in his post-surgical fettle, stands as an unlikely miracle of sanity and what's possible. How can a presidential candidate who's still regularly on national news be just walking by like a normal guy on the semi-industrial dirt path by the graffitied rail cars in Burlington in the middle of a pandemic in his 80s in sneakers with a recently cut ticker, looking healthier than anyone in the White House, strolling and then jogging with no security while gracefully receiving and ignoring all the cheers and giving us all the opportunity to crack open our hearts together and spill our hope out onto the Vermont soil to bloom our spring into existence. With the water of unexercised smiling muscles, wondrously reawakening with the ache of the unfamiliar and the sorrow that we hadn't realized the act of smiling had gone. With the micro miracle of spring green Japanese tea and the macro miracle of feeling the burn that burns unexpectedly sweet. The bud of something possible, something sane and humane, glimmers in the afterburn of a sparkling eye and the withdrawing sun folding into the curtain of winter that will hold us for a little while longer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, our next reader is Kahal.
That's fine. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, everybody, for reading. It's been a very enjoyable afternoon and morning for you, but for afternoon for me.
Do you want to
just a
put
couple
your video on?
Well, I was just leaving it off, Liz, because of the bandwidth. Sometimes I
Okay.
get a crack when I'm calling in from Ireland, and just in case the line breaks up, I usually cut out the video for the sake of bandwidth, if that's okay.
Of course. Yeah.
Just short poems for you all, and I hope you enjoy them. And it's about connections. I know you were talking about connections, and these are about various connections we make. The first one is called Beyond Byzantium. Beyond Byzantium. The times of beauty and of grace are gone, when towers of the mind are fallen stone, when singers of the song now stand alone, in tattered rags and withered to the bone. We twitter about this and that online, following blind the latest thing to shine, while Yeats keeps watch beneath Ben Bulben's eye and wonders where the beauty lost must lie. Beyond perhaps golden Byzantium, beyond the boundaries of human fire, to show how far from beauty we have come, to turn again towards that burning dire, to light again creation's sacred spark, renewed again and killed just like fired clay, that we may cast again our living work to Byzantium sages for a day. And the next one is called Hauberk. Hauberk was the Norman French for a piece of chainmail, a chainmail shirt that the Norman knight would wear. A full piece of chainmail intact was discovered here in Ireland about 2 years ago. And it's just my impression of what it must have been like for the knight at that time, moving into Ireland to conquer and establish the Norman dominancy in Ireland at the time. The word called Line is the Gaelic name for the province of Leinster. We're divided into 4 provinces here: Munster, Ulster, Leinster, and Connacht. And Leinster was the first province into which the Norman armies moved. And this is called Hauberk, based upon, as I say, an 800-year-old discovery of a full piece of chainmail. In the middle lands of Line, drawn deep within the bog lane, black turf, dark sunk, squelched it lay, unremembered under dead Clark clay. Covered for centuries in iron, link deep, mail shorted and chain, each link torqued turnings in time and space. Norman named Hobbeck. 800 winters had passed since its wearer had held fast to build moat-mounted Bailey in the deed done to conquer, to subdue painted Keltoy, to break with sword and shield, to destroy their ring-mounted wall forts with bow, armored arms, and horse. When last he who wore that mail looked out on an Irish sky to hail the morning, did he let his falcon fly to greet a new dawn? And third one is called The Scribe. This is based on a Seamus Heaney translation of a 11th century manuscript credited to Columkill from the 6th century of a poem written about a scribe. And the Irish was a skip, a club on scriben. He translated it as "my hand is cramped from pen work." So it's an attempt to imagine the hard work the scribe was under when he was writing at his scriptorium after many, many hours writing. His hand, no doubt, would become cramped when bent over with writing the manuscript. So this is called The Scribe. The glistening ink from its inkwell, beetle black upon the quill's point, is soaked up by the vellumed page. The cramped hand, quill work weary, carefully follows the measure of his hunter's eye, tracking ink dark lines upon the parched page, raising Knossos from its covert. In the candle's strawed lemon light, his quill journeys slowly back and forth between the inkwell and the vellum, dipping, rising, falling to quill scrape, rising to dip again. And my final poem is called The Divining Rod, and it's about searching for that creative spark that everybody does when they write or paint or write music. The Divining Rod. The divining rod moves lightly with ease and searching words from burning water to seep, like a blacksmith tempering metal deep on the smithy's hammered anvil with these images fired, molten, shaped in a phrase, pointed and formed by the mind's eye in sleep, when the gloaming gives way to darkling creep, bathing in the moonlight's silvering rays. What matter be that no one will know my struggle here to wrest the fruit of knowledge from the brambled briar and thorned hedge, through the thick-set thicket that marks the way, to the blinded seer who stares to the sky, where demons whisper soft his mind away. And that's it for now, and thank you for listening to me, and back to you, Liz, and look forward to the rest of the afternoon, or morning in your case. Thank you all. Claire. Thank you.
Thanks so much. That was beautiful. We have a last poet to read, Amira Shabazz.
Good afternoon.
Hi, welcome.
Hi, I'm going to keep it in the spirit of women's history with all the pieces that I do today. Thank you. You see, we women shape shift through our words, like nights on hills with stars as lanterns, we brighten life. And our silence has meaning. But but when we speak, when women speak, earths move. When women speak, we echo voices from ancestry chambers. When women speak, they pass down bloodlines of stories of him and her and they. You get to know the souls of ancestors. You get to know the souls of sisters far and deep. You get to know the souls of you and me. When women speak, there's a connecting valve of understanding of life and death, and mothers and daughters and aunts and clans and whole tribes of human existence connecting. When women speak, hear them souls speak, sister speak, for to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects when women speak. When women speak, hold on, listen for the rhythm of the drum. Beat, 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 for the djembe drum be wombs too. They be female, and their tongues lash out through winds of oppression, glad ties and murderous cries when women speak. Beat, beat, beat spirits across continents, across nations, across oceans. Listen for the djembe drum when women speak. When women speak, all of humanity connects. Whole DNA becomes one, venturing from the veins and the liquids and fluids of Mother Eve out into the world when women speak. When women speak, there is freedom. Speak freedom into souls. Walk them north, walk them cross borders, cross the land they bled to cultivate. Beat them feet, beat them feet, beat them feet. No man shall turn back. Hear the voices that travel from throat over tongue waves, through luscious lips and teeth. Speak, Moses, speak. When women speak, secret codes will be unleashed. The secret code of freedom quilts will cover sisters. Walk like the drunkard, fly like the geese. Watch for the log cabin. Speak, wagon wheel, speak, speak, speak. This be tongue, this be tongue. My tongue be speaking code in tongues when women speak. Speak, Amanda Gorman. Speak, Harriet Tubman. Speak, Maya Angelou. Speak, Angela. Speak, and Tashaki Sango. Speak, speak, Tony. Speak. Speak, women. Speak. Our voices will lift others as we climb. To the feminist, within reason, I want quality. I want equality. But I don't want to lift heavy things or bench press in competition to show my strength. To my brother, or even wear pants like my brother, or hard bottom flat shoes, or pants with zippers in front. Well, sometimes I do. Sometimes I like low riders with elastic waists and flowers and glitter, but never tighty whities. Being woman is equality. I don't need the frills. But Lord, doesn't she wear the world well? Survivor of one fatal wound, but sure, but not sure why when rockets boom, you know it's just your heartbeat. And night sweats less than sweet. Night sweats. Nights of remembering faces in the sun, bright even after gone, and the photo left out to catch rays fades after not many days, and days of many days forgetting bacon was his favorite meat. Beef rinds tough, but oh, so spicy yet so sweet. Missing Bilal's echoes of Adhan calls to prayer, nearly 5 or more missing years. Remembering, not wanting to forget afternoon fireworks and long walks through parks on July 4th, and deep regrets not knowing how to distinguish a pop of a rocket from a shot. Breathless most of the time in this world, but Lord, doesn't she wear the world well? Closure to self. Life is hollow and creeks run through, hearts often throwing up pain in eyes that burn and blur, where rain does more than cause bones to stir, only to remind of never again. No, don't want kindness, yearn for stilled nights into selves, where fear and tears flow in an upward direction to form rain and thunder. But mine is lightning because that takes life and energy, and there's only a void and hollow measured breaths. We're staring blankly from within, holding on to anything causes loss, and hollow shells, echoes of times when laughter enlightens loads and creases crept on corners of red, moist lips. Give more, give more, give more than kisses, but give smiles too, and all lived in life. But when death chips away souls and unchained screams to release pains of loss, when veins pump potions to keep breath soft and flowing, because hardened hearts only crack and turn to dust, hollow becomes the shell of humans who can only remember love and smiles and warm handholds and knees that shake with and turn towards fire, the fire and warmth of love calls in dark nights when no one is safe from its capture. Know that when it's gone, holes are left to gather memories that will never be safe if breath doesn't reach the soul again. But who wants to breathe, knowing love in breaths that fade away into memories and pain remains to ache the soul? Just who would want to live there again? Who would want to live with love? Poem.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad you could join us.
Thank you.
Rescue has a few extra minutes in her set. Do you want to do those minutes?
Okay, give me just one moment here. There is a piece I want to do, and this is in honor of Women's History. I could extol the virtues of motherhood, tell of the wondrous ability to create life, praise the struggle of raising kids as a single parent, lauded this as my greatest accomplishment. I could hide my failures, asinine judgment calls, ass backwards decisions, the madness and chaos that followed, gloss it over, make it pretty. I could ignore the rage, having done so for years, runs in fishnet stockings worn over varicose veins. That skin, parchment paper edges singed, it's time to cut it away, peel it back, and grow a new one. Over scars, my last relationship pried open just to watch the blood flow. The hardest thing isn't to let go. The hardest thing isn't to let go. The hardest thing isn't to let go. The hardest thing is to move on. Redefine who I am, rediscover who I am, where I am, how I am, wherever and however that may be, not defined by motherhood, children, work, relationship, or any other human being. Start as I am now. Rediscover the magic of myself as I stand before you naked in truth. At the mouth of change, I dare to look back, my shedding scattered like breadcrumbs on a path I no longer travel. Maybe I like that. Today, I don't know how true that is. I do know that I have cut for me the need, the fear, the desire to return to the devil. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to give Karina a chance to finish your poem if you want to.
I'd rather not finish that one. It is in print. If you go through my website, Karina Lutz, KarinALutz, .wordpress.com, it has links to everything that I have published, including my 2 books. That's what I would like to show that I didn't do during my time.
Okay.
This one, which has a fair amount about women's issues and abortion rights, and this one, which is more environmental and has a lot of very local imagery. So those are my.
So that's actually a really good idea for everybody to show their books. Is there anybody who forgot to show their book during their time and wants to? Oh, Amira?
I don't know if you guys can see because my camera, but I put the link in the chat. This is When Women Speak anthology, and the poem I recited first, the When Women Speak poem, is one of the poems that are featured by most of the women writers in this book. We all had that feature sentimental piece that gives experiences of when women speak and how their voices sound. And since it's 60 different female poets in this anthology, everybody's When Women Speak poem is just phenomenal and phenomenally different and it speaks for itself. Pick up a copy. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Did anyone else not share yet about their book? Okay. Above me is the Montague Reporter site, so please remind your friends to donate for the wonderful reading that you've all done. And I think that we are about done. I was going to read a poem, but I just think that we'll leave it with those wonderful poems that you've already read. So I thank you very much for being here and for helping Montague Reporter. So thank you.